Alright, we're doing a hex. We're dabbling in some ritualistic cannibalism. Don't act brand new, the Catholics do it all the time. Now, I usually don't give warnings because it's your life, you're gonna do what you want. It's not my job to tell you what to do. However, this spell might seem a little bit simplistic, but I would say this little ritual is a bit more advanced. And I think the experienced practitioners watching this would agree with me. That being said, it's your life. What you do with this spell is none of my business. Now you're going to get a potato and carve the person's name or their initials into the spud. And then we're going to put it on the stove and boil it with our hexing herbs. Alright, that's your basil, your poppy seeds. If you're a little more advanced, maybe you're doing something like a magic mushroom. Whatever you got, just throw it in the pot. You know, I feel like somebody's going to get mad at me for posting this one, but who cares? I do what I want. Now, once the person's done boiling in your cauldron, this is when you're going to use your spells, your sigils, your chants, your incantations, whatever it is you want to do. And then with every bite you take, you're going to consume that person. Now, all that being said, just imagine what you could do with the pot roast. Maybe some beans and ham hock with a little cornbread. You know, back in my day, we didn't have all these fancy candle spells and all the nice tools and the incense and all that. I started out practicing witchcraft with some dried leaves, determination, and a tub of Crisco. It was hard times. But I survived the 90s with a lavender bundle and a pentagram. Anyways, you know my neighbor I was telling you about? The one who kept letting his dog shit in my yard so I was going to put a curse on him? Well, I put a curse on him. Yeah, well, he lost his dog, his home, his family, all his money, his girlfriend, and now he's living in a Motel 6 by the freeway. But I kind of felt bad, so I sent him a get well soon card with one of those edible arrangements. Fortunately, it turns out he was allergic to fruit and chocolate, so he ended up dying of that anaphylacticus. The anaphylaxis. Anaphylacticity. You know what I'm talking about, the antifreeze with the swelling and the EpiPen. Anyways, he brought it on himself. Oh, did I ever tell you about the time I got arrested in the Astral for committing arson? Oh, that was a terrible night. Long story short, never drink absinthe after you smoke a little mugwort. It's a terrible combination. I ended up burning down an Astral Wingstop with some kerosene in a single match. You know, some of my favorite spells are from nursery rhymes or chants when we were younger. You know, like I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say to me bounces off or something like that, and then it sticks back to you, and then you fall down 2 flights of stairs and break a couple of toes. You know what I mean? But nowadays, everybody's trying to cast the spells in Latin. Thank God for that Google Translate, otherwise I'd be up Witch Creek without a paddle. But you know, there comes a time when a witch reaches a certain age that she's got to banish all the negativity out of her life. So naturally, I stopped going over to my family's house for Christmas. But it was the best decision I ever made. But you know, what's going on with the witches these days? I feel like everything's a TED Talk. You know, not everything's gotta be a TED Talk. Nobody's handing out Nobel Prizes for your 10th video on rosemary. You know, we just gotta stop having the same conversation over and over and over again. It's like trying to talk to my 80-year-old grandmother with dementia. And we gotta stop with the threefold law nonsense. Now all of a sudden it's tenfold. The folds are growing extra folds. It's ludicrous, honestly. Witchcraft isn't a boomerang. It's not coming back to you. Somebody lied to you several times, sweetie. Alright, you're looking for a spell to find out if your feelings are reciprocated. You want to know if he likes you back. Well, you probably already know how to do this. Go outside, pick a flower, and you start pulling the petals off one by one. And you're going to chant, he loves me not. Now, this may not seem like witchcraft to you, but I assure you, it is witchcraft. In fact, I can guarantee that there are a lot of things that you did when you were younger that you had no idea were witchcraft. There's a lot of folk magic in the world, you just gotta look for it. Breaking a wishbone on Turkey Day, blowing out your birthday candles, mistletoe on Christmas, jack-o'-lanterns on Halloween. I mean, the list goes on, really. For this particular type of witchcraft, I would say it's divination because you're looking for an answer. So if you want to know if someone has feelings for you, or if they're attracted to you, or if they want to slash your tires, go outside, get a flower, and start picking off the petals. He loves me not. Change the question if you want to. He hates me not. Unfortunately for my case, Robert Downey Jr. does not love me, but I'll survive. You know, everybody keeps asking me about these oils I use, so I'm going to show you how. I'm going to give you the tutorial. Now, you want to start out with the oils. I always go with the extra virgin. Only use the amount of oil that you think you're going to need. Don't go overboard. And then you want to start adding ingredients that correspond with the type of oil you're trying to make. This tutorial is for a love oil, so I'll put the ingredients in the comments. But if you're going to make this at home, I'm going to give you a warning, alright? Stay away from the powders. Don't crush up your herbs into dust and then add them into the oil, okay? That's what you don't want. You're looking for chunky, big old pieces. Because after it's all said and done, we're going to strain the ingredients out of the oil. And if you're putting the oil in a dropper bottle, it'll get clogged. And we don't want that. Now, if you're not putting the oils in a dropper bottle, and if you don't care how the oil looks in the end, you can do whatever you want. But I'm trying to add all the pigments and make it look all pretty and nice. Alright, now I'm going to sit it on the windowsill for 24 hours. Once it's done absorbing the sunlight, we're going to put it on the stove. So come back tomorrow for part 2, okay? I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, this is part 2. I'm making my love oils, my special sauce. Y'all have been hounding me for the recipe. Now, after the oil's set for a good 24 hours, we're going to put it in a pot, and then we're going to put it on the stove. I'm cooking it on high because I'm pressed for time. She got a little crispy in the end, but it's not the end of the world. Alright, when it's done, we're going to take it off the stove and let it sit. We want it to be nice and cool. You know, let it get to room temperature. Now, once it's nice and cool, we're going to strain this heifer for dear life. Now, pro tip, if you have a mesh strainer and a cheesecloth, this will go much faster. Unfortunately, she's underfunded, okay? My budget does not allow for all the fancy gizmos and gadgets. We're working with what we got. But look at all that crap in that little strainer. You see that? All that gook? You don't want that. No, that's nasty. You can toss the leftovers into a compost or the garbage, whatever you want to do. But now we're going to transfer the oil to its final resting place. And we're going to get to the fun part and the last and final step, the pigments, alright? The mica powder. These are my powders. It's a love oil, so I'm going to go with red. If you don't associate the color red with love, maybe try a pink, maybe a champagne, chartreuse, a scarlet. But you know, I like to mix the colors. But you know, have fun, play around with it till you get your desired color. And then we're just going to mix it up. Give it a good shake. If I had one of those fancy froth coffee blenders, you know I'd use that. But anyways, give it a good shake. Let's look at it in the light though, right? This lighting's just not doing it for me. There we go. You know, the last time I used this oil, I wound up in a love triangle with John F. Kennedy. You know, sometimes it's hard being a witch. My familiar's been pissing all over my couch. I got spirits trying to contact me. They won't give me a minute apiece. And don't even get me started on my sleep paralysis demon. And do you know how hard it is gathering some of these ingredients? I mean, you try going to Safeway and asking the butcher for a cow tongue. Not to mention trying to get access to a cemetery after midnight. I've been arrested 47 times. Also, I could get a jar of dirt. Like, I'm sorry, officer. I was just trying to practice necromancy in peace. I just don't understand the discrimination, and I think it's a real violation of my witch's rights. What do they think I'm going to do? Raise an army of the dead to destroy the patriarchy and take over the world? Huh, like I would try that again. I learned my lesson the first time. You know, the craft just ain't what it used to be. I remember a time when I was sending messages from my crystal ball. That was worse than dial-up. And of course, now they've got the iPhone 600 Pro Max. Maybe we should start practicing the old ways again. Get back to our roots, you know, practice necromancy. Dance naked in the forest, summon Satan. You know, poison apples, walking on water, turning men to stone. Of course, back then we had dysentery and the Black Plague, so maybe we should think on it first, you know? So you want to know what kind of witch you are? Well, you got to know all the different types of witches. Now, first you got the Waffle House witches. Sounds a little bit whimsical, but don't let the name fool you. The reason they're called the Waffle House witches is because after a long night at the bar, they got into a couple of fights, lost their phone, and ended up at the Waffle House. Now, these are not to be confused with the Denny's parking lot witches. Okay, that's a whole nother coven. And then you've got your green witches. These are the ones smoking lettuce, if you know what I mean. Two things a green witch always has is a connection with nature and a connection to a good supplier. And then you have arguably the most dangerous of the witchy zodiacs, the kitchen witch. Now you're probably thinking, why is the kitchen witch the dangerous one? The kitchen witch is the only witch who can poison you with a good meal. They've got a vast knowledge of poisons and the best potato salad recipe you've ever tried. Now you've also got your Goodwill witches, your bargain bin thrift store discount witches. And we can't forget about the chaos witches, always running on iced coffee, fumes, and vibes. The chaos witches always have a good time and an even better Spotify playlist. I'm calling cap on the law of attraction. You know, my husband still hasn't croaked. I've been visualizing his last breath for the past 40 years and he still hasn't taken it. The only thing I'm trying to manifest is an insurance check and a good place to spread somebody's ashes. Maybe I'll dump him in the ocean. He always hated the water. Anyways, the other day I got pulled over for flying my broom through a turtle sanctuary. Apparently my tags were expired. You ever been to a turtle sanctuary? I mean, the idea alone will lift your spirits. Think about it. A sanctuary of turtles. It's just a bunch of turtles scurrying around, eating lettuces, living a carefree life away from the systemic issues that cause 1 out of every 5 turtles to become roadkill. Anyways, that's enough turtle talk. This is a broom closet hex. Just follow the instructions. You know, monkey see, monkey do. It's a proprietary blend of my secret 11 herbs and spices. Just don't tell Colonel Sanders. Jesus, what am I talking about? Fried chicken, turtles, and witchcraft? I should probably get in touch with my therapist, but I think he's been dodging my calls. You know, once upon a time, you couldn't even light a candle on Witchtok without somebody coming after you. I'm serious. You wouldn't believe how many times somebody said they were going to put a generational curse on me with a used tampon they've been saving. All because I folded a piece of paper in a way that they didn't like. Or maybe I didn't trim the wick on my candles. Just yesterday, somebody told me that pissing was a closed practice. I'm not joking. They told me that pissing in a jar was a closed practice. I can't make this up. I just think some of these crystal lovers are really putting the meth in amethyst. But you know what? I've got exactly 3.5 fucks left to give, and I don't plan on giving them out anytime soon. Anyways, this is my hot take, my little controversial opinion. TikTok suppressing all the mediocre creators might be the best thing that ever happened to Witchtok. I know that's harsh, but I never said I was a good witch. Anyways, this is a binding spell. It's better than the freezer spell. You write the person's name down and then you tie it to the nail with a good chant or an incantation and then you nail it to the ground. For best results, nail it into a cemetery. You know how many witches it takes to do a candle spell? About 400,000. One of them lights the candle and the rest of them just sit around arguing about what herbs to use. It's like they watched one episode of Charmed and suddenly everyone's an expert on witchcraft. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in my living room with a dozen eggs and some pink Himalayan salt trying to get Hecate to pay my water bill. And what's going on with all these witches pissing in jars? I mean, you're wasting a perfectly good jar. I mean, just do your spells in the toilet like a civilized witch. But I guess they don't teach personal hygiene at Hogwarts. It's alright, not my piss jar, not my practice. Anyways, I'm thinking about going to the Redwood Forest on a little vacation. I want to get one of those fallen branches so I can make a wand, you know? I feel like witches don't use wands anymore. They'll piss in a jar, but heaven forbid they go outside and touch a tree. Did I ever tell you I'm psychic? You know I have premonitions. I'm serious, I really do. You don't believe me? I'll prove it to you. You remember that time when your father went out for cigarettes? Yeah, well, I knew he wasn't coming back. I just didn't have the heart to tell you.